Cold winds screamed across the surface of a forgotten world. The planet had no name, only a number, Zeta 9. It was covered in endless ice, broken mountains, and the ruins of something ancient. For hundreds of years, no one had dared to land here. The galactic maps showed it as unsafe, a dead zone with no life and no history. But today, 5 alien scholars stood on its frozen ground. Their silver ship rested behind them, its lights cutting through the storm. The leader, Scholar Lyrak, looked at the wasteland ahead with wide yellow eyes. "This is it," he said softly. "The last coordinates in the archive. The final trace of humans." The word human sounded strange in his mouth. None of them had ever seen one. In the Galactic Academy, human was just a rumor, a species that once existed but vanished before the modern age. Every record about them had been deleted, every mention removed. It was as if the galaxy wanted to forget them completely. The youngest scholar, Taran, walked beside Lyrak, holding a scanning device. "No signs of life," he said. "Just ruins. Metal buried under ice, maybe old machines." Another voice spoke from behind, Karel, the senior scholar, older and colder than the rest. "We shouldn't be here," he said. "The Council forbade research on human relics for a reason. They were dangerous, unpredictable." Lyrak didn't answer. Something about this place felt different, heavy, silent, like the planet itself was watching them. The wind carried a faint sound, almost like a whisper. The group began to walk toward a large hill of ice. Underneath, their scanners showed a massive structure. Lyrak brushed the frost away with his gloves and saw it. A symbol, half broken, but still glowing faintly. 2 circles intertwined with a small line between them. Taran tilted his head. "What is that?" Lyrak whispered. "An old human mark, the sign of unity. It means together we stand." Karel frowned. "Superstition? Humans believed in strange things, emotions, loyalty, courage. That's what destroyed them." Lyrak's gaze stayed on the glowing mark. "Or maybe," he said quietly, "that's what made them powerful." They set up equipment and began melting the ice with heat beams. Hours passed. Slowly, the buried structure revealed itself. A metal door, still sealed shut after centuries. Symbols and words were etched on it, half covered by frost. Lyrak leaned closer. The words were in an ancient Earth language, but the translation device whispered the meaning into his ear. "We remember." Something inside Lyrak's chest tightened. He didn't know why, but those words felt alive. The others didn't notice. They were too busy setting up the entry code. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. A low hum came from the door, deep and mechanical. Then light burst out. A wave of energy spread through the ice. The team stumbled back. Taran shouted, "What was that?" Before anyone could answer, Lyrak felt a pulse in his mind, a flash of images not his own. He saw cities burning. He saw tall, 2-legged beings, humans, standing against alien warships, their eyes filled with fire and pain, their hands reaching for each other. And then silence, a bright white light, everything gone. He gasped and fell to his knees. The vision vanished. Karel rushed over. "What happened? What did you see?" Lyrak looked at him with shaking hands. "I saw them, humans. They were fighting, but not for power. They were protecting others, protecting us." Karel's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. They were erased for violence, for chaos. That's what the Council taught us." Lyrak shook his head. "The Council lied. I saw the truth." The wind howled louder as if agreeing. The door began to open slowly, metal grinding against metal, revealing a dark tunnel leading deep into the ice. Blue lights flickered inside, still alive after centuries. Taran whispered, "This place is still powered." "How?" Lyrak stood, breathing heavily. "Because someone, or something, wanted to be found." The team stepped inside cautiously. The air was thin and cold. Strange machines lined the walls, covered in frost but humming softly. At the center of the chamber stood a circular console, glowing faintly red. As they approached, the console lit up brighter. A voice echoed through the room, mechanical, distorted, but speaking in the human tongue. "Jark says detected. Foreign DNA. Scanning. Unauthorized entry. The scholars froze. Garel shouted, "Shut it down! Shut it down now!" But Lyrak raised a hand. "Wait, let it speak." The voice paused, then continued, quieter this time. "You came back after what you did." Silence filled the room. Lyrak looked at his team in confusion. "What we did?" The voice spoke again, almost like a whisper. "You erased us, but we remember." The lights flickered violently. The console sparked. The ship outside began to lose power. Terran's hands shook as he looked at his scanner. Energy surge, massive, spreading through the ground. Karel grabbed Lyrak's arm. "We leave now. This planet is cursed." But Lyrak stood still, staring at the console, his eyes wide with awe and fear. "No," he said softly. "It's not cursed. It's waiting." The room fell silent again. Only the wind outside howled through the cracks of the ancient door. And somewhere deep beneath the ice, the planet whispered once more, "We remember." The tunnel walls were covered with frost and quiet humming sounds. Every step echoed like a heartbeat. The 5 alien scholars moved slowly through the dark corridor, their helmet lights cutting through the mist. At the front walked Lyrak, holding a small recorder. He whispered into it, "Date, Cycle 47. We have entered the underground structure. Power still active. Possible human origin." Behind him, Taran scanned the walls. Strange human letters appeared under the ice, glowing softly. "This place is alive," he said. "Even after centuries." The older scholar Karel stayed close to the door, nervous. "We should collect samples and leave. This world is not safe." "Nothing human ever was." Lyrak ignored him. His mind kept returning to the words he'd heard earlier. "You came back. After what you did." Who was speaking? A program, a memory, or something else that survived the fall of humanity? They reached a large chamber at the end of the tunnel. The ceiling was high, filled with hanging cables like frozen vines. In the center stood a round metal core surrounded by shattered glass pods. Dust floated in the air like snowflakes. Terran's scanner beeped fast. "Energy signal here," he said. "Very old but still strong." Lyrak walked closer. A faint red light blinked from the core, steady and calm, like the beat of a heart. He wiped the frost away and found words carved into the surface. "Archive 01, do not forget." Lyrak smiled sadly. "They really didn't want to be forgotten," Karel hissed. "Don't touch it. The Council forbids interaction with human tech. We'll all be punished if—" But before he could finish, Lyrak pressed his hand against the surface. The light flared. A voice filled the room, clear, calm, and very human. "Archive system online. Identity scan in progress. Non-human DNA detected." Taran stepped back. "It's still working!" The voice paused, then continued, softer now. "You're not welcome here." The lights dimmed. The floor shook. For a moment, everyone thought the whole place would collapse. Lyrak shouted, "Wait! We came to learn. We want to understand what happened to you." Silence, then a reply. "You want to understand? Then remember." A beam of light shot from the core, forming a hologram in the air. The aliens gasped as images appeared. Cities of glass and metal, oceans filled with machines, humans walking among stars. Laughter, music, wars and peace. The rise and fall of an entire species within seconds. Then came the fire. Planets burning, fleets exploding, human voices crying out. Lyrak's chest tightened. They fought the Council. The hologram changed again. It showed humans protecting alien colonies, saving children from collapsing worlds, standing in front of enemy ships with nothing but courage. The voice spoke once more. "They feared us because we would not obey. We gave them peace, and they answered with silence." Terran whispered, "This is not what they taught us. They said humans started wars." Carol's face turned pale. "Stop this now!" "It's all lies made by old machines." But Lyrak couldn't look away. "No, these are memories." He took a step closer. "Show me how it ended." The room darkened. The hologram flickered, showing the final moment, a massive human fleet standing before a huge glowing portal. The voice said they chose exile. Better to vanish than to be ruled. Better to be forgotten than to become monsters. Then the image froze. The portal closed. The aliens stood in silence. Only the hum of the core remained. Karel broke the silence first. "Now you see why the Council erased them. They were too strong." Too dangerous. Lyrak turned to him. No, Carol. They were too free. He walked toward the console again. Who are you? He asked the voice. Are you human? The light pulsed softly. I am what remains, a memory keeper. I hold their last words. Can you tell us those words? Only if you understand what it means to remember. The chamber fell silent again. The meaning was heavy like a riddle. Suddenly, one of the walls slid open. Inside was another room, smaller and darker. Lyrak stepped inside carefully. In the center of the room was a glass coffin filled with faint blue light. Inside it lay a human figure, still, peaceful, frozen in time. Taran whispered, trembling, "It's real. A real human," Lyrak's voice broke. "They look so fragile." The archive spoke again, quietly. He was the last one here. The Guardian. He stayed behind to protect the truth. He waited for someone who would listen. Lyrak reached out, almost touching the glass. The human's face was calm, not afraid. A symbol was carved into the chest plate of his armor, the same intertwined circles from the door above. "Together we stand," Karel shouted from behind. "Enough! We are leaving!" Lyrak turned to him, his eyes filled with determination. "You can go. I'm staying. This story deserves to be told." Karel hesitated, then stormed out with two others. Only Taran remained beside Lyrak. The voice spoke once more. "To remember is to suffer, but also to heal." The light slowly dimmed to a soft blue glow. The core's red light blinked slower, almost like it was breathing. Lyrak placed his recorder on the ground and whispered, "Archive 01, this is Lyrak of the Galactic Academy. I will tell your story." Outside, the storm raged harder, as if the planet itself was waking up after a long sleep. Deep below the ice, the lost archive whispered to itself, "At last." Someone remembers. The air inside the archive grew still. Only the faint hum of machines echoed through the cold chamber. Lyrak and Taran stood beside the sleeping human figure, their eyes fixed on the glowing symbols that danced across the glass coffin. For a long time, neither of them spoke. It felt wrong to break the silence, as if they were standing inside a grave that was still alive. Finally, Lyrak whispered, "He was waiting for us, waiting for someone to remember." Taran swallowed hard. "But why? Why would humans leave all this behind? The archives, the body, the memories?" Before Lyrak could answer, the red light on the central core pulsed again. The AI's voice echoed through the chamber. "The memory code must be restored." Lyrak turned toward the core. "What is the memory code?" The AI responded, its tone calm and sad. "It is the final key. The code unlocks the last memory, the truth of why humanity left." Taran frowned. "Can we access it?" "No," the AI said. "The code is locked. It requires a human heart to open." The two aliens looked at each other in confusion. "A human heart?" Taran repeated. "But there are no humans left." The AI paused. "Then the truth will remain hidden forever." The lights dimmed again. The red glow softened, almost fading. Lyrak stepped closer. "Wait! There must be another way. Can we simulate the code? Translate it?" "You can try, but only emotion can activate the sequence. Logic cannot remember what love once did." The sentence struck Lyrak deeply. Emotion, love, these were words most aliens avoided. In their world, feelings were considered weaknesses. But here, in this silent tomb of humanity, emotion felt powerful, sacred even. He sat down on the cold floor and looked at the still human face behind the glass. "Maybe that's why they were feared," he said softly. "They felt too much. They cared too much." Taran looked around nervously. "Lyrak, this is dangerous talk. Garil will report us to the council." Lyrak smiled sadly. "Let him. The truth is more important." Hours passed as they worked to decode the archive. Taran connected scanners and translators, while Lyrak studied the strange writing carved into the walls. Every phrase carried deep meaning, words like hope, unity, and sacrifice. Finally, one of the consoles beeped. A hologram flickered to life. It showed humans standing together, wounded and tired, but still smiling. Behind them burned the sky, a massive war raging across the stars. "They came to our worlds first," the AI said quietly. They came to save us. The image shifted. Alien fleets were shown, not human ones, attacking colonies, destroying cities. The humans fought back, but not to conquer. They defended others who could not defend themselves. They broke the Council's law of neutrality. The AI continued. They refused to stand aside while others suffered. That was their greatest sin, Terran whispered. So, they were punished for helping. Yes, the AI said. They were too human. The words echoed in the chamber like thunder. Lyrak clenched his fists. Then the Council lied to all of us. They said humanity started the Galactic War. The AI pulsed brighter. The truth was erased. The victors always write history, but the archive remembers. Suddenly, the hologram changed again. It showed a vast council hall filled with alien leaders, the same species as Lyrak and Taran. They stood before human ambassadors in silence. The humans spoke with calm strength. "We will not fight for power," said one of them. "We will fight for peace, even if peace costs us everything." Moments later, the image showed fleets exploding, a blinding flash of light. The humans disappeared into a shining portal. The AI whispered, "They chose exile. They left so that others could live." Lyrak's voice trembled. "Where did they go?" "Beyond the stars, to a place without war, to a place they called home too." The AI's lights began to flicker. Systems were weakening. Terran shouted, "The power's dropping! We're losing it!" Lyrak rushed forward. "Archive! Stay with us! We need to know more!" The AI flickered one last time. "You will, when the code is complete." Then silence. The red glow faded completely. The chamber grew dark again. Only the pale light from the human's coffin remained. Lyrak sank to his knees. "We were so wrong about them," he said quietly. "They weren't erased because they were monsters. They were erased because they were better than us." Taran looked at him, eyes wide with fear and wonder. "What will you do now?" Lyrak stood slowly. "I'll finish what they started. I'll find the code." He reached out and touched the glass coffin once more. For a moment, he thought he saw the faintest movement, the human's hand twitching slightly beneath the ice. He froze. "Did you see that?" Taran shook his head. "It's impossible. He's been dead for centuries." But Lyrak wasn't so sure. The glass glowed faintly beneath his touch, a small pulse of blue light, like a heartbeat. He stepped back, eyes wide. "No," he whispered. "Not dead, waiting." The ground trembled again. Somewhere deeper in the planet, another system came to life. A low hum echoed through the tunnels, a signal being sent. Taran looked at his scanner. "Something's transmitting. Out into space." Lyrak's voice was almost a whisper. "The memory code? It's starting." Outside, the storm grew darker. The sky above the frozen planet flashed with distant lights, as if the stars themselves were listening. Deep beneath the ice, the human's final message whispered through the void. "If you remember us, we will return." The storm outside roared like a beast awakened from a long sleep. Inside the frozen archive, red warning lights flashed weakly on the walls. The ancient machines trembled, waking piece by piece after centuries of silence. Lyrak and Taran stood near the glowing glass coffin, their breath visible in the cold air. A faint blue pulse still flickered beneath the frozen human's chest, one slow beat every few seconds. Taran whispered, "It's impossible." "He's alive?" Lyrak stared at the faint light. "Not alive," he said softly, "but not dead either. Something is keeping him here." Before they could speak again, the central core powered on by itself. The AI's voice returned, faint, distorted, but still calm. "Signal received. The Council has been notified." Taran's eyes widened. "What, the Galactic Council?" "They'll come here!" Lyrak's mind raced. They must have been watching, waiting for someone to open the archive. The AI continued. Protocol 9. Erase all traces of human data. Destroy all witnesses. The chamber filled with red light. A distant explosion echoed from above. "Their ship," Taran gasped, checking his communicator. "Our ship. It's gone!" Lyrak clenched his fists. "They're trying to bury the truth again." He turned to the AI. "Why did the Council erase humans? Tell me everything." For a moment there was only silence. Then the AI's tone softened, almost like it was sad. "You seek the forbidden truth. It will not save you. But you deserve to know. The holograms flickered to life once more. Images filled the room. Humans standing among stars, leading fleets, building worlds. Alien ambassadors shook their hands. Peace filled the galaxy. Then came the change. The Council feared their strength, the AI said. Humans grew fast, too fast. Their minds were creative, their hearts unpredictable. They loved too deeply, fought too fiercely. The other species began to follow them, not the Council. The hologram showed the Galactic Council chamber, a vast, circular room filled with alien leaders. One of them shouted, "Humans cannot be trusted. They are chaos-wearing skin." Another voice, calmer but sharper, replied, "Or perhaps they are what we wish we could be." The scene shifted again. The Council voted to erase humanity from history, not destroy them outright, but silence them forever. They called it Project Silence, said the AI, a weapon built from fear. They unleashed biological storms on human colonies, erased digital records, and destroyed every image, every song, every name. Taran covered his mouth. "That's genocide." "No," said the AI. "It was fear." The hologram now showed one final meeting, human ambassadors standing before the Council, surrounded by guards. A human woman spoke calmly. "You cannot erase us. Even if we vanish, our stories will remain." The guards opened fire. The image froze before the end. Lyrak stepped forward, trembling. "They killed them for speaking the truth." "Yes," said the AI, "but before they fell, they created me, the memory code. I hold the last truth of what they were." Lyrak looked up at the glowing core. "Then help me send it to the galaxy. The people deserve to know what really happened. The Council will destroy you," the AI warned. Lyrak smiled sadly. "Then I'll become what they fear most, a voice that remembers." A new explosion shook the base. Taran shouted, "They're landing troops. We have to leave." Lyrak turned toward the human's glass coffin. The blue light was growing brighter now, faster, like a heartbeat awakening. "The Guardian is waking," said the AI. The ice cracked. Steam hissed from the chamber. Taran backed away. "Lyrak, what's happening?" Lyrak watched in awe as the figure's eyes opened, pale blue, glowing softly. The man sat up slowly, looking around the chamber. He moved stiffly, like someone waking from a long dream. He spoke, his voice deep and calm. "Who remembers?" Lyrak stepped forward. "We do," he said. "We found the archive. We know what they did to you." The human looked at him quietly, studying his alien face. Then he nodded. "Then the time has come," Taran whispered, terrified. "The time for what?" "For truth," the human said. "For the galaxy to face what it buried." He placed his hand on the core. The machines reacted instantly. The holograms expanded into the air, projecting images through the ceiling, through the planet's storm, out into space. Every satellite, every ship, every world began to receive the message. "The truth of humanity. Let them remember," the AI said softly. Far above, the Council's fleet arrived in orbit. Their ships opened fire, trying to destroy the signal. But it was too late. The data had already spread and unstoppable. Karel's voice came through the comms, full of panic. "Lyrak, what have you done?" "The Council is furious. They'll erase us too," Lyrak replied calmly. "Maybe they should, but at least now. The galaxy knows." The light filled the entire chamber. The human turned toward Lyrak and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You were brave to come here," he said. "Now remember this. They erased us not because we were monsters, but because we showed them what it means to be alive." Then he smiled faintly. "The truth is free now, and so are we." A massive surge of energy burst from the core. The archive began to collapse. Ice rained down from the ceiling. Lyrak and Taran ran toward the exit as the structure fell apart behind them. Outside, the storm had stopped. The sky was clear, filled with strange golden light. The human's voice echoed faintly in their minds. "We are not gone. We are waiting." As they reached the surface, Lyrak looked up. Across the stars, a faint pattern appeared, a human symbol, glowing bright for the first time in centuries. Two circles, joined together by a line. He whispered, "Together we stand," and for the first time in his life, Lyrak felt something he had never known before. Hope. The sky above the frozen planet shimmered like glass. Strange lights danced in the air, golden threads weaving through the clouds. Spreading across the atmosphere, Lyrak and Taran stood outside the collapsing archive, watching in awe as the light reached the stars. It was beautiful and terrifying. Taran's voice shook. "What's happening?" Lyrak stared upward. "The signal. The human is sending their message to the whole galaxy." Far above, the Council's warships fired beams of energy into the planet, trying to stop it. But the golden light spread faster than they could react. A wave of data, emotion and memory flying across every known system. Then, in the middle of the chaos, they heard the voice again, calm, human and strong. "If you remember us, we will return." The words echoed, not only in the air but inside their minds, like a memory buried deep in the heart of every living being. The Council's fleet began to descend. Massive ships darkened the sky, their engines rumbling like thunder. Taran grabbed Lyrak's arm. "We have to go. They'll kill us!" But Lyrak couldn't move. His eyes were fixed on the human symbol glowing across the clouds, two circles joined by a line. He whispered, "They're coming back." Taran's voice trembled. "Who?" Lyrak looked at him, his face pale but calm. "The ones we erased." The ground shook violently as an explosion tore through the ice. A shockwave of blue energy burst from the ruins, spreading outward in all directions. The alien soldiers who landed nearby were thrown to the ground. Their ships lost power. The human AI's voice spoke from the collapsing structure, louder than before. "Transmission complete. Phase 2, reconnection," Lyrak shouted over the roaring wind. "What does that mean?" No answer came, only the rising hum of power deep beneath the surface. The ice cracked, revealing massive metal shapes buried below. Taran gasped. "Those are ships." Enormous human starships began to rise from under the ice, ancient and scarred, but alive. Their hulls gleamed with blue energy veins, pulsing like blood through metal veins. Each ship carried the same emblem, the Unity Mark. Lyrak fell to his knees, tears freezing on his face. "They left their fleet here, waiting for the signal." Taran could barely speak. Then the legend was true. Humanity didn't die. They went to sleep. Above them, the Council ships opened fire again, but their beams dissolved against invisible shields. The human vessels responded with silent precision. No sound, no anger, just unstoppable light. One of the alien ships exploded in a flash of white. From within the leading human ship, a voice transmitted across all channels. "This is Commander Elias of the Human Restoration Fleet. We have received the memory signal. We are returning to reclaim the truth." The voice was steady, calm but powerful. Karel's voice came over Lyrak's communicator, panicked. "Lyrak, what have you done? The humans are real. They're destroying everything." Lyrak replied quietly, "No, Karel. They're not destroying. They're remembering." The human commander's voice continued to echo through every ship and every planet connected to the signal. "For too long, fear ruled the stars. We gave peace and were erased for it, but now, peace will have a voice again." Across the galaxy, civilians and soldiers alike stopped what they were doing to listen. The signal carried images of humanity's past, people laughing, helping, building, children, families, heroes. For many species, it was the first time they had ever seen a human face. Back on the planet, the human figure from the archive, the Guardian, stood in the glowing ruins. His body emitted light, his eyes calm. He spoke softly, though his voice reached them both. "You opened the door. The galaxy remembers again." "Thank you." Lyrak approached him, trembling. "What will happen now?" The Guardian looked toward the sky. "We will not fight. We will remind them who we were, and who they can still be." The human fleet began to rise higher, forming a vast ring of light around the planet. For a brief moment, the stars themselves seemed to pause. Taran whispered, "It's beautiful." Lyrak nodded slowly. "This is not war. It's awakening. But then a shadow appeared among the stars, the Council's flagship, 10 times larger than the others, its weapons glowing red. A deep voice echoed through the sky. "Human fleet, stand down. You are a danger to the galaxy," Commander Elias replied calmly. "Truth is never dangerous. Lies are." The Council ship fired a massive energy beam, but before it hit, the human fleet activated their shields. The beam shattered like light hitting glass. Then, without firing a single shot, the humans transmitted one final message to the Council. "We forgive you." The human ships began to fade into the light, vanishing slowly, not destroyed, but ascending into a higher dimension. The storm cleared completely, leaving only silence and clear stars. Lyrak and Taran watched in silence. Taran asked, "Are they gone again?" Lyrak smiled softly. "No, they've shown us the truth. Now it's our turn to carry it." He looked up at the sky, where the last shimmer of light remained, the unity symbol glowing among the stars. "Together we stand," he whispered. For the first time in thousands of years, that phrase meant something again. The storm was gone. Only quiet wind moved across the frozen plains where the archive once stood. The stars above were bright again, but somehow different, warmer, as if they were watching. Lyrak and Taran stood among the ruins, their ship in flames behind them. The human fleet had vanished into the light minutes ago, leaving silence. In peace. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt still. Taran finally spoke. "It's over, isn't it?" Lyrak looked up at the stars. "No, it's beginning." From his wrist device, a faint signal blinked. It wasn't the Council's channel. It was something else, older, softer. He pressed it. A calm, familiar voice filled the air. "This is Commander Elias of the Human Restoration Fleet. To those who found the truth, thank you. We leave behind no weapons, no vengeance, only a message." Lyrak and Taran looked at each other. "Humanity was never meant to rule. We were meant to remind." The transmission continued. Holograms formed in the air, showing faces, men, women, children, soldiers, scientists, smiling. "If you are hearing this, you are the next guardians of memory. Tell them who we were, and more importantly, who you can become." The signal ended with 3 simple words. Remember, learn, build. Then the device went silent. Taran swallowed hard. They forgave us. After everything. Lyrak nodded. That's what made them human. He turned to the horizon, where sunlight began to touch the ice. They didn't come back for war. They came back to heal something broken. Meanwhile, far away on the Council world, chaos filled the great chamber. The leaders argued, shouted, denied, but the truth could no longer be erased. Every planet had received the signal. Every species had seen the faces of the humans, laughing, crying, creating. The oldest council member, Varin, stood and spoke softly. We feared them because they reminded us of what we lost: courage, love, and the will to dream. The chamber fell silent. For the first time in living memory, the council had nothing left to say. Back on the ice planet, Lyrak and Taran began to rebuild their ship. It was slow work, but neither of them complained. As they worked, they noticed something new, small symbols carved into the remaining stones of the archive. Simple words, written in ancient human text. Hope never dies. It only waits. Lyrak traced the letters with his hand. They knew someone would come. Taran smiled faintly. Maybe they knew it would be us. Days passed. The 2 aliens repaired what they could, living quietly under the strange, glowing sky. Then one morning, their scanners detected a signal. Faint but repeating. Lyrak checked the data. It's human frequency. The signal wasn't words this time. It was a melody, soft, slow, and haunting. Taran tilted his head. Music? Lyrak nodded. A song. The AI core, still half buried in ice, flickered back to life. It is called Home, a human song of return. As the melody played, holograms shimmered in the sky again, children holding hands, cities filled with light. oceans and skies filled with life. The song's final line echoed through the air. Even in silence, we endure. Lyrak closed his eyes. He could almost feel what the humans felt. Love, loss, and the endless hope that one day they would be remembered. A small ship arrived from orbit, Karel's. He ran to them, breathless. The Council has changed their decree. Humanity is to be honored, not erased. Taran's eyes widened. They admitted it? Karel nodded. Every system saw the truth. Every archive is reopening. They're calling it the Great Remembering. Lyrak smiled, looking up at the sky. Then it worked. He turned to Karel. What happens now? Karel hesitated. The Council wants you both to testify, to tell what you saw. You'll be heroes. Lyrak laughed softly. No, not heroes, just witnesses. He looked at the faint shimmer of light where the human fleet had vanished. The real heroes are the ones who taught us what it means to feel. That night, the three of them camped beneath the open sky. Taran asked quietly, "Do you think they'll ever come back?" Lyrak thought for a moment before answering. They already have. Every time we choose compassion over fear, every time we build instead of destroy. That's them. That's humanity. The firelight flickered against their faces as the wind carried a whisper through the ice. Not a storm this time, but a voice. Together we stand. They looked up, and for a heartbeat, they saw it again. The human unity symbol glowing faintly among the stars. Then it faded, leaving behind only peace. Epilogue: years later, children of many species sat in classrooms across the galaxy. They listened to stories about the lost humans, the ones who vanished but never truly died. Teachers spoke of bravery, kindness, and the power of remembering. And in every lesson, one phrase was always written on the wall: hope never dies, it only waits. As the final words of the story were told, somewhere beyond the edge of the known stars, a quiet hum of engines echoed in the dark. A fleet of human ships drifted silently through the void, watching, waiting, guarding. The commander's voice spoke once more, distant but calm. They remember us. That's enough. The stars pulsed once, like a heartbeat, and then all was still.